Alright, YouTube, if you notice some weird noise in the background, I can't hear it. The background noise suppression on this thing is fucking marvelous. There's a really loud cicada or something outside of my window, though, so it's like blasting in my ear. I'm gonna have the windows closed tonight, which is gonna suck because it's so hot. They only do this in the hottest time of year, so I'm fucked up about that. But the DNC leaks, which kind of got knocked off Twitter, trust me, they would have knocked them off Twitter anyway, regardless of Hillary Clinton making her VP announcement. It wouldn't have mattered. And I've got RuneScape open here, so I'm sort of a little bit distracted right now, but this is an important topic. It looks like the DNC was actively colluding with Hillary. But the thing is, everybody in their right mind already knew that they were doing that anyway. It was kind of obvious when they sort of pandered to Hillary on the debate schedule and everything else. And because of the fact that the head of the DNC at the time was a former Hillary campaign manager, it didn't take a fucking genius to know who they were rooting for. What this does, though, is to prove for even like partisan Democrats that voted for Sanders, preferred Sanders, it shows them, yeah, the DNC screwed you all. The DNC actively attempted to suppress Sanders in any way possible. And now, their motives for this probably boiled down to they didn't think he could win. I think they're dead wrong. I think it's Hillary that can't win. But that being said, it doesn't really fucking matter when you supposedly have a democratic process in which people are deciding who the nominee of the party will be. You stack it with superdelegates to make it easier for the corporate candidate. You actively start giving advice on how to suppress your opponent. You tailor the debate schedule to be exactly what the candidate you want should have, what they want to have. Again, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what's going on here. I've got a conch shell. Port Sarum invasion. Got to get that XP. They raised the token cap, okay, so I can't be bothered to stop what I'm doing exactly right now, but I'm got to keep on the video making. This is the last video for tonight, though. The Munich attack, don't ask me to make a video on that, please, until all the facts are in. I'm not going to analyze the situation from a social perspective if we don't even know what the motive is. Was he an Islamic terrorist? Maybe. Was he a racial nationalist? Maybe. I'm getting conflicting reports. I don't fucking know. I wasn't there and I don't speak German, so I'm just going to wait until people figure out what the hell is going on. But the DNC leak story is far more interesting anyway at the moment because we do know the facts there. WikiLeaks just dumped 19,000 emails from the DNC and all sorts of attachments to it. I think this is just the first of several leaks that they're planning. Now, Assange, the funny thing is this. WikiLeaks and organizations like WikiLeaks in the sort of early Obama era became more popular with younger individuals, tech-literate individuals. They tend to be more left-leaning. They especially tend to be Bernie Sanders voters in the primaries. Had a huge amount of youth support, a huge share of it, and a lesser extent, be like third party, like Gary Johnson or something. What is this going to do? It's going to show at least a minority of the people that supported Bernie but now are sort of settling for Hillary that they shouldn't settle for Hillary because the fix was in to begin with. That's the importance here. Again, it doesn't matter what like Hillary partisans think. That's that's not that large a majority of the Democratic voters. She did win in the primaries. She did win more delegates, even without superdelegates counted. She won in popular vote terms as well. But it wasn't an overwhelming majority, and Bernie Sanders fans were a lot more hardened in their support. A large proportion of them, whether you think it's a majority or a minority, again, conflicting accounts on which it is. A large proportion have jumped ship to third parties, especially to the Green Party and to the Libertarian Party. And a significant number, a smaller number, but still significant, have jumped over to Trump, who had already cannibalized the business Democrats. Now, the DNC leaks thing is being actively suppressed, like I said earlier, with lie by omission. When Salon or Being Liberal or Jezebel or one of these more liberal-friendly or Democrat partisan-friendly news groups realizes that a scandal has hit a Democratic candidate, what have they begun doing, especially recently? Instead of trying to refute it and spin the argument, which they realize is a lost cause, they simply don't report on it. They try not to mention it. They will even actively headhunt after people who comment on unrelated stories. Hey, when are you going to talk about this substantial news piece that happens not to be boding well for the candidate that you so obviously now support? They did this earlier. Several people had mentioned the DNC leaks on one of Being Liberal's posts regarding Tim Kaine, I believe it was, as well as other stories. They took them down. They reposted them after trying to boot out the people that were posting about the DNC leaks. After blocking them from commenting, they took it down and attempted to repost it. I mean, it doesn't really help. They should know better. But it's a better strategy than trying to spin it when there is no way to spin it. The Democratic National Committee colluded openly with the establishment candidate to deny her challenger, to the point at which at least one of these emails alludes to them trying to out Bernie Sanders as an atheist to prevent some of the more religious Catholic Democrat voters from backing him. I mean, this is insane. That's predictable, but it's insane that we have proof that it actually occurred. Usually you don't have proof. Usually you have a good guess. You can make an educated guess. Yeah, it seems like there's some collusion and corruption going on here. But usually you don't have outright proof, and that's the importance here. I saw one obvious Hillary shill there claim, oh, WikiLeaks isn't an adequate, proper source for anything. How do we know that these emails are even real? Yeah, they sat there and typed up 19,000 fake emails just to screw Hillary Clinton over. And I thought that you were the people who always complained about conspiracy theories. Imagine that. So yeah, the DNC leaks will take a toll on Hillary. It will not be a large toll, but at this point, everything is just adding up over and fucking over. You have the FBI investigation makes her look like more of a chronic liar. Her numbers drop. She chooses Tim Kaine on the same night that Virginia fires on the governor there's executive order regarding felon voters. So that's not good news. Then you have this happen, you have the DNC leaks, and then you have Trump deliver what by most people's estimation, at least, appears to have been a very popular speech, especially to independent voters. It couldn't be going worse for Hillary right now. It's going to be very difficult for her going into the convention, I think, to energize anybody, because all those Sanders supporters, because she chose Tim Kaine, they're going to sit it out. They'll trot Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders up on stage, and ultimately, the big story may be protests at DNC larger than protests at RNC, and become more violent. Everybody in the media, including the right-wing media, was saying, oh, it's going to be havoc at the RNC. There's going to be so many shootings. People are open carrying. There's like neo-Nazis there. There are all sorts of right-wing, like nationalistic bikers there. BLM is there. The Black Panthers are there. It's just a powder keg. It's going to be the worst thing you've ever seen. It's going to be boring because there's no Bushes or Mitt Romney there. Everybody knows how much they energize the room. So it's going to be boring, it's going to be a bloodbath, people are going to go crazy, Ted Cruz will show up and rip everyone apart, and there'll be just disunification on a grand scale. None of that happened. What happens, though, when the DNC ends up having, 15, 20,000 Bernie Sanders fans show up to start shouting about how Hillary Clinton is just a shill and Bernie Sanders sold them out? Hey, I donated $500 to Sanders, and he kept on raising money and grabbing his campaign salary up after he had endorsed Hillary. He fucking sold out to the man. That's probably what's going to happen. If you see any violence at any of these big sort of political events, it's going to be at the DNC. It's not going to be at the RNC with the open carriers, which is probably the reason there wasn't a whole lot of chaos and people getting beaten and so forth. The biggest story as far as like chaos going on was Alex Jones trying to troll the Young Turks. But do you think that'll be replicated at the DNC? I'm going to assume that the Bernie Sanders fans, who have been responsible for most of the rioting and looting and vandalism so far in the political season, are going to carry it to the DNC. Now, I think it'll be on a small scale, but it will be noteworthy. And any time that there are more protesters outside than there are people inside of your convention, which is likely to be the case, not good news for your party, especially when you've chosen a notoriously boring VP nominee. And the Democrats are the ones that are disunified at this point. A section of the party, a significant proportion. It's not like Ted Cruz's 50,000 remaining Republican stalwart fans that still think that Trump is the Antichrist and Ted Cruz was robbed somehow. No, it's not 50,000. Try like 5 million people. That's more what we're talking about on the Democratic side. That's a lot more disunifying. Trump escaped without a scratch from the Republican convention. I would love to see if Hillary does the same. And the DNC leaks are going to inflame tension between her and Kaine, the centrists, the corporate sort of candidates, and the outsiders, the progressives and socialists, as well as assorted others, left-leaning libertarians and so forth, who they wanted her to choose Warren or Sanders, essentially. It's going to be very interesting. That's about all. Peace out.